Minden a hatalom gyűrűinek kovácsolásával kezdődött. 3 került a tündékhez, kik mind közül a legbölcsebbek, s a legbecsületesebbek. 7 lett a törp királyok jussa, kik a hegyek üregeinek rátermett bányászai. És 9 a halandó emberek kaptak, kik mindenek felett hatalomra vágynak. Egy gyűrűket összeköti a népek fölötti hatalomra késztető erő. De mindannyiukat becsapták. Egy másik gyűrű is készült. Mordor földjén, a végzet hegyének tüzében a sötét úr Sauron elkészítette az egy gyűrűt, hogy uralkodhasson a többi felett. Az egy gyűrűbe beleöntötte a vágyát, hogy ő parancsolhasson mindenek felett. Egy gyűrű mind felett. Welcome to the show. For those of you who are following this series, I believe there is no introduction needed, that this is a Hungarian teaching series. For those of you who for some reason thought that it would be a good idea to start with Season 2, Episode 7, that wasn't a good idea at all. Go back. I see some of you are still here. Perhaps you didn't understand the concept. The videos are in chronological order from 1 to this. And there are seasons. I'm sorry, what? Oh, no, this is not political science. Also, this is not mathematics. No, not English literature. Just please leave, please, please. This is Hungarian language for beginners and for intermediates. Well, okay, I see that nobody is here now. Well, that's a kind of a disappointment, although I guess that not a lot of people wishes to, you know, learn this beautiful, beautiful language. But it doesn't really concern me, because this is all about the language itself and not the people who try to learn it. Or maybe this is about the people who try to learn it, including you? I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore. My life has changed. I mean, I ate a hamburger yesterday and it was a pretty good hamburger. With salad. I know. Okay, how about, after this fantastic introduction, let's go on with the learning and stuff. Today we are going to analyze some things and stuff and whatever, mainly from Lord of the Rings, because these are easy sentences. Take a look at these ones. I mean, this is really cool. It says, egy gyűrű mind felett, egy gyűrű kegyetlen, egy gyűrű a sötétbe zár, mert bilincs az egyetlen. Now you would think that this is a direct translation of the very famous thing that I can even recite, coming or going like this: one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. However, it's not. I mean, it starts promising, like one ring Isn't it perfect? It is, damn right it is perfect. But then it comes all and then above. Of course, in Hungarian you can put these into almost any order that makes sense. So in this case, even though in English it would be above everything or all of them, then instead of that it's just, you know, in front of above. But I mean, if you think about it, there is no rule them all. Where is it? Well, we'll find out later. Now, the next one is even more of a headache. I mean, it starts with one ring. That's kind of useful thing because it's a translation into Hungarian, and then it says cruel. Like, you know, one ring is cruel. I guess that maybe you didn't know this word, but you're kind of familiar with this whole Hungarian sentence structure, so it makes sense. There is nothing new really. But still, I mean, this is supposed to be one ring to find them. So where is the finding? Well, that comes later, I believe. Then let's see, one ring, and this is darkness. Now into the darkness because of be, and zar is to close. So you close you into the darkness, or just close things in general into darkness. Very, very, very different from one ring to find them all, isn't it? And how about the next one, the final? This might be our salvation. This might be that explains everything. Will it? Who knows? Well, I know, actually. There is because, and this is handcuffs or bindings, if you know, wish to use the older English expression, and then the and only one. Now what the hell is going on? You might ask very politely into my face, and I would have to say that I have no idea. But of course then I would be blamed for everything, even the extinction of the dinosaurs. So obviously, as a teacher, or at least someone who pretends to be a teacher, that's not an option. So all I can do is try to find some explanation to all of this, and the best one I can find, sadly for you but luckily for me, is that it's art. And that is a quintessential or the essential part of the language. This is something people like to have fun with, you know, words and stuff. Make them into poems and whatever. Now, the problem is when it comes to translation, because translating a poem from English is very, very hard. But of course, if you try to translate anything into English from Hungarian, that's also very, very hard, because you have to think about the cultural impacts as well as does it make sense. Now, of course, the One Ring poem makes sense in English, also makes sense in Hungarian, but these two poems really, really represent the core things of their own respected language. English is a verb of actions. English is a language of actions, a language of verbs. So naturally you will come across things like wanting to rule them all, to find them, to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Although this would be the good time to, you know, the right time to mention that I take these from the films, not from the book. So I know I will break some hearts with this, but get over it. It's just examples. I could use a Hungarian poem, but there is no proper translation, or very rarely there is a proper translation, and you don't know the poem at all. So when I say stuff, poems in Hungarian, you would just sit there trying to pretend that you understand everything, but really you might be a bit lost. But with this one, I mean, especially, hopefully, mostly nerds watching this, then, you know, we have a chance to find some common ground, which would be a story about many, many psychopathic people who try to rule the world. Now, okay, anyway, so going back to the poem. Now, Hungarian is the language of nouns, or the language of anything else but verbs. So naturally you will find you will not find verbs in like most of it. Maybe this is the only exception, because that would be weird. It's really hard to express that you wish to, you know, just push somebody into darkness without an actual verb. So that is the exception, but these are mostly a good representation of this pretty language. Now, if you're a Hungarian, and for some silly reason you're watching this, I know, it happens, you might get bored because you know the language. But you might mention something, because I can't really remember if this is felett or fölött. And this is a fun part of the Hungarian language, that sometimes there are words, well, in this case 2 examples, or just one big example, that we use different vowels. This is a preference. Someone might say that, oh dude, or the equivalent of Hungarian, when in Hungarian, dude, this is wrong, I say that it should be fölött because of reasons. And I would say that no, this should be felett because of reasons. And then we might get into a fight and use nuclear weapons. Who knows? But if we try to just leave each other alone, we could even say that it is your preference, or it is any given person's reference. And you will encounter these if you try to practice Hungarian. Now, I know we are not talking about a lot of things here, a lot of grammar and stuff, but I thought that it might be a good idea just to talk about stuff that you might encounter if you try to learn alone. Because let's face it, lots of people watch the videos and then try to learn alone. And who am I to say that it is a bad idea? It is an idea. It's fine. There are no problems with it. But it might take a bit longer, and you have to be mindful of these small things like felett and fölött. I guess that's about it. Now there's only one thing left. A very, very interesting thing that you might encounter, or you might not. Naturally, if you are not Hungarian, you're American, French, German, or any sort of person, really, you might not be comfortable with the accent marks, such as o with the o, ö, u, u, and u, well, u and u, and e and a, and all these kind of things. So a lot of people tell me, or at least I read it in a lot of places, that since the American keyboards, or the English keyboards, let's stick with that, they don't contain these letters, and it would be hard to, you know, pull them or make them up, and you might make mistakes. Naturally, a lot of people, a lot of writers prefer to use, prefer to remove the accent marks. Now, that creates a big problem, in my humble opinion, that could be avoided using Wikipedia, for instance, because Wikipedia contains a whole page of most cities and names that are Hungarian. So, for instance, take a normal Hungarian family name. It's kind of traditional if you name somebody, or you have the last name Györfi. And this is, because you're learning Hungarian, you're very well aware that this is a J, a strange double letter that counts just one. This is an Ö, if you can pronounce that. R, two Fs, and then you have to emphasize on them. And then a Y, which, because this is a traditional thing, we pronounce E. Györfi. It's a very, very nice name. If you ask me, maybe if you ask other people, then they would say that it's not a nice name, but who cares about them? This is my video. Ha! Anyway, so what happens when you remove the accent mark? Obviously, if you remove the accent mark, I would pronounce it Györfi, which is kind of a raping of the name, but I might. As I was saying before my battery died, I was saying that I'm trying to express my opinion about this, that to me, I might recognize that this is Györfi. Maybe they just made a mistake, or maybe didn't have the proper keyboard, although if, again, Wikipedia with the pronunciation, but that's okay, I would understand it. But let's say that you're French, American, British, Australian, whoever, Russian. How would you pronounce this? Would you recognize this as a Hungarian name, or a German name, or whatever name? And there is a problem. So this might become Gi, or Jai, or G. I guess it's Guy, or Gi, Györfi. And that is how most people try to pronounce these things. And if I had to move to the US or to the UK, for instance, with the last name like this, probably it would be sensible for me to change it. However, I'm not talking about people in general. I'm talking about articles here about Hungary, or concerning this increasing dictatorship-like thing in Hungary, for example. Nowadays I read lots of articles, and then often they make this mistake. Not always, though, because now everybody has access to Wikipedia, or, you know, a list of names. So, what happens if you remove the A in Visegrad? Now, since Hungarian is one of the few languages that actually says that this is an S instead of an S, and then put like a little tail on it, or something, and that becomes S or J or something, then Visegrad could become Visegrad, or something like that, which is kind of okay, but it's not that. So when you can actually put the pronunciation in brackets or something, or maybe nobody cares, then I know it's not an easy thing to talk about, but again, I'm against it, removing these fine accent marks. because then you sort of rape the word, and you make it hard to recognize and pronounce. And then there is one thing, this last one, and this is the most significant of the three, because you might recognize if this was a name of a village, or in the case of Visegrad is a name of a town in the north of Hungary, then you might recognize it and say that, okay, this is the place with the A on it, and then, yeah, okay, let's go there if you drive to Hungary. But often on tourist maps they say that the Hero Square, which is a famous square in Budapest, is the Hero Square instead of Hősök tere, or at least Hősök Square. Now obviously when you hop on the underground you won't find this there. Maybe nowadays, yes, perhaps, but I think most of the time, if you ask people about this place, even if you point on a map that, you know, just Hősök tere, then they will realize what you're looking for, and then just tell you to, you know, go that way or something. But again, creating these other names for these things are weird, at least to me. But this has been the case in history, all in history. For instance, this is the reason why we are called Hungarians, or why I'm called a Hungarian if I go to Western Europe, America, etc. But I am called Magyar if I go to Slovakia, Serbia, even to Russia, or, you know, to the east. Because we create these names, different names, and we are guilty of the same thing. That's how Greece, from Ellada, it became somehow Greece, but to us it became Görögország. So all in all, I guess that my point is that there is no point. But you have to be aware of these things, and as always, you can check them on Wikipedia if you get confused. Or you can always ask me, because I always encourage people to talk to me, even though most of them don't want to for some weird reason. I hear a rumor just going around that I'm very busy, and I'm, you know, they don't want to bother me, you don't want to bother me. Why? I don't bite. Well, anyway, that's just this silly episode for today. I think I need to apologize, even though you might not think I need to, but I feel the need to apologize that we haven't learned a great deal today. But if you follow the episodes in real time, you might realize at some point that over like a month and a half there haven't been any episodes uploaded. So this is the second part of the second season with this episode. Maybe the ratings will show that it's not the greatest episode, but well, at least this is something. That's the best I can come up with, unfortunately. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, you can hope that the next one will be very complicated and very, very entertaining. Thank you again, and have fun.